Alright everyone, little Adam Schiff has come out to do more dumb stuff. Now he's calling Trump unpatriotic, and the reason for that is because he's like, fuck the Mueller probe. I was exonerated and, leave me alone. Let me do the presidenting thing that you so far haven't really let me do. Somehow it's unpatriotic for him to call out people who have habitually lied about him and sensationalized for the last 2 fucking years. It's like the time that BuzzFeed name dropped me in their one thing there, where they were basically targeting Alex Jones more than anything else, InfoWars. And they're like, oh, this far right, they got the term libertarian right, but then devolved into calling me like far right or something. And like if I had, come out and not said anything and just, totally ignored it, I guess there's something wrong with you if you don't. Like, you're just supposed to sort of take it because, we're the lamestream media, so whatever we say goes. Well, any sane person doesn't operate that way and realizes at this point that these people are a bunch of desperate hacks and liars that are going to be largely out of business if Trump doesn't get reelected. I hope they realize that they're really going to have to string it out. They're still going to be talking about him years after his presidency ends anyway. You know that they are. They're going to continue being tabloids, especially like when he finally keels over. Hopefully lasts to be like 100 just to sort of laugh in these people's faces. That'd be funny. But when he finally like keels over, like, out of office, dead, whatever, they're still going to talk about him. They're still going to make all sorts of weird stories. I guarantee they're going to try to keep making him one-dimensional. They're going to try over time. They're going to try to turn Donald Trump into one of the villains of history. And it's going to be difficult because he hasn't really done anything villainous, but, they keep trying to push the line as though he has. As far as the Mueller probe goes, it's very funny because now House Judiciary is trying to subpoena the full report, like trying to get a hold of it and stuff, which who cares? It's not going to lead to anything. It was funny the other day, there was some more sensationalism. They're like, no, insiders close to the situation. Again, wonderful. More anonymous sources. This time there's a leak from within the former Mueller team, and they say that the actual summation of the report is way worse than Barr is letting on. It doesn't exonerate him, but we're not going to talk about specifically what's there, but whatever. It's a pile of bullshit. This is tabloid sensationalism and garbage. You don't have to like Trump to realize that it is. Like, the liberals used to understand that the lamestream media lied on a regular basis. Back when they used to say that Saddam totally had WMDs, dude. Osama's totally in Afghanistan. He hasn't gone across the border. The Gulf of Tonkin was totally, totally a real situation and not at all a false flag that was misused to drag us into an endless war in Southeast Asia. All of these wonderful things that the legacy media throughout time has told us. No, Bill Cosby didn't do anything wrong, everybody. He's perfect. He's America's dad. Look at the sweater. How can he not be? Very, very funny times indeed. But Adam Schiff, who fucking takes him seriously? He spent months and months saying, well, there's evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. No, there's not. And it doesn't matter if you subpoenaed the full report. Go fucking ahead and do that. Trump is sitting there laughing at these people because he realizes at this point they've lost. They're just trying to drag it out and make it less evident among their core fans that they've lost. What they're doing right now is a form of damage control where they're not going to let the issue go, because if they think about the alternative, what if Schiff and Pelosi and all these others say, well, that's that, we're going to end the investigation stuff. They're basically be admitting to people, hey, we wasted 2 years, we made up all sorts of lurid claims that we couldn't back up. The FBI, Senate Intel, House Judiciary, everything else has cleared Trump of any wrongdoing, cleared his campaign of wrongdoing. The real criminals that were found, the main one was Manafort, who got in trouble for stuff that happened 10 years prior to the campaign anyway, didn't involve Russia, certainly didn't involve election interference by the Russians. And so we're sorry, we wasted $30 million in your time. It wouldn't be very good going into the 2020 election for the Democrats to admit to that, now would it? So it makes more sense, ironically bad as though it is, for them strategically it makes more sense to simply ignore the fact that the report has exonerated the president, to ignore the fact that they're kicking a dead horse and pretend that it's still going. Because the core leftists want him impeached. They're still convinced that Trump colluded with a foreign state. They gobbled down the propaganda. They're being dumbasses about it. They don't want to admit that they're wrong. And so to appease them and to keep them hopefully voting Democrat, people like Schiff and Pelosi are willing to wave the issue around more. They're willing to continue waving it around like the dead horse it is, even though it's beginning to rot and fall apart. The probe was never going to lead to an indictment of the president. The idea of obstruction is hilarious. It's like, yes, the attorney general, simply by virtue of the fact that he was chosen by Trump, is incapable of doing his job. That's funny, because we've never really had that problem before. It's very funny. The AG gets, put in there by any given president. Sometimes they're going to lean left, sometimes right. None of these people seem to have a big problem with Barr in the first place, and the reason the Democrats allowed it to go through and didn't really put up too much of a fuss was literally because they wanted a Trump-appointed AG there so that when the report fell apart, they could blame him. This is just the next step in their act, and it's a bunch of bullshit, and I see through it, and I think most of you probably do, but remember, Soccer Mom America doesn't. A lot of the normie Americans, if they're not getting, online content, they're not getting, actual real news, they're still watching CNN or Fox or something, the reality that they're seeing right now is totally different. In their reality, Trump is still a scumwad, basically, and he's just covered his tracks well by using a corrupt AG. And that's really what it boils down to. Of course they're going to accept another wave of investigation. Of course House Judiciary is going to get involved. And of course Trump is unpatriotic. My God. If he used the term fake news, he's attacking the First Amendment. Somehow this makes sense in their minds. Very interesting. That's about all. Peace out.